So yeah, I'm going to do a quick demonstration of our Elasticsearch connector. It is a work in progress, but we want to get an MVP out in the next week or 2 weeks, something like that. That's our time frame. I'm going to demonstrate basically just from scratch how we get this thing up and running, how easy it is to get a GraphQL API generated out of an Elasticsearch index, uh, and then. The process is changing. As you saw, there's going to be a new local development process. And so the process I'm using now is a bit of a hybrid. So I'm going to be running the connector locally and pushing it through to our console. But it'll be simpler. And in fact, once we release it, either next week or the week after, it'll be on the cloud. So you don't even have to run the connector locally. So it'll be easier than what I show you. But what I'm showing you hopefully won't look that challenging. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so here I'm just I checked out the GitHub repo with our Elasticsearch connector. This one is written in Go. It's against our Go SDK. To get started with it, I'm basically going to run through the current README. This README is going to change, but these instructions will still be there. But we're going to augment it with a set of features that are currently supported by the connector. In any case, what we need just to get started for Elasticsearch is we need an Elasticsearch URL. I am currently just running Elasticsearch in Docker here, and it's a really very simple data set that my friends at ChatGPT generated for me very generously. Anyway, it's a very simple. This is just an Elasticsearch mapping. It's all running on localhost against my Docker, so nothing up my sleeve here. I'm going to go ahead. I've got a m variable file pointing to my local host. I'm going to go ahead and read that into my environment like so. All right, so now I have this stuff in my environmental variables. I'm going to basically just copy all of these steps into it. So this is going to build the executable. And again, we're starting at source here, so you'll see how quickly this goes. All right, so now we have our executable, which is here. The next step is we are going to generate a configuration using the environmental variables that I have supplied. It's going to introspect the data source. It's going to introspect, which it did, and it created a configuration in JSON, which will look remarkably familiar, right? So this is just the mappings for Elasticsearch. If I had multiple indices, these would all show up here. You can edit these if you want. But in any case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this configuration file to start out the connector. So it's the same executable, you'll notice. The serve command, if you give it a configuration argument, you have to point it to the directory where your configuration lives. It defaults to the current working directory. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it like this, and it's going to find this configuration. So now I have a server up and running up on port 8080 on my local host. And this is here. And so what this has done, it has read the configuration, and it has built out sort of basic object types and scalars and so forth that we're using for Elasticsearch, and specifically for this this index that I have, this very complicated, very simple data set. All right, so we have the connector up and running. The next step would be to build a project. So from here, we're gonna make this bigger. Create projects, demo. So now I've got my new demo, sorry, I've got my Docker stuff in the way here. Not my Docker, my Zoom things. All right, here we're gonna go into into our new directory that we've just created, the ES demo directory, which contains our new project. Go ahead and launch Visual Studio so we can see what's inside here. I didn't give it a subgraph name, so by default it just produces app, and you'll see that the subgraph is currently empty. I'm going to now issue a command to add the Elastic connector as a type endpoint. So I'm going to end up, you'll see what happens, but it'll ask me for the endpoint pointing to my connector. And again, my connector is running locally. So we'll go back to Visual Studio, and now you'll see underneath app, we have an Elastic connector, and then inside connector, we have this Elastic build. Here, I need to add the value for the endpoint. I am tunneling this currently through ngrok, so it's available outside of my local environment. Again, when this is in the cloud, first of all, you don't need to run it locally, but second of all, you know, with the new local development process, you won't need to do this tunneling stuff. Okay, so I've updated this per the instructions here. And now what do? I'm going to do what this next step is going to do is it is going to read this schema endpoint that is running out of the connector, because now it knows where my connector is because I just gave it the endpoint. It's going to read this schema, and it's going to build out the models and so forth that we need to actually build the project. So here we go. Okay, so we only have one model, which is test connector. If we go back here, you'll see models has been added. We've got the various fields that we have and the types of the fields and permissions and so forth. So the final step is just we're going to go ahead and build this thing. And this will give me a project that is running out on a console, which you've seen a couple times. And so here we go. So you'll see these are the fields that we've got. We've got address, email, name. So we've got, here's our basic Elasticsearch functionality out of the box. We can order, let's do order by name, start with ascending, and see Aaron and maybe a lot of Aarons. ChatGPT is really clever, but maybe not that clever. Anyway, lots of Aarons. We could do a descending to see what they do for Zed. That's for you, Rob. And there's Zoe and Zachary. So it's still a lot of Zacharys. Anyway, you get the point. So ordering works. In fact, I'm going to show you something about ordering that's a bit interesting. So here on the back end, this is the connector that I'm running locally. Again, the thing that started up on port 8080. You'll see that we've got the queries that are being generated. One thing to note is that we are using for ordering in Elasticsearch, there are subfields. And so these fields are defined. We can look at the mappings again. So name is where? Name is here. It's defined as a text field, but text field is not available for ordering or for aggregation in Elasticsearch. But we know that we have a keyword subfield here. So keyword is available. So on the back end, we're swapping in the appropriate type of subfield so that we can do the operation. And generally, we're going to do that. So for example, if you do a regex search, we're going to look for a regex or wildcard. We're going to look for a regex or wildcard field, a subfield. If you don't have that, we're going to look for we'll look for a keyword next, and then we'll default to text, which is just in Elasticsearch, text fields are tokenized. So if you do a search, it may not come up the way you think it's going to come out. Whereas keyword, it's the entire text of the field that's going to be searched. So when you do regex, it'll work in a way that's a bit more obvious. Maybe I'll show some of that right now. So let's do, first we'll just do a match with name. Well, yeah, we'll do a match with Zachary, since we know there are about 1,000 Zacharys. And here we go, Zachary, lots and lots of Zacharys. If we do, let's make that into a regex, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just do Zach star. So here we've got Zachary Young. Again, if we look back here, you'll see that we're using the keyword. We're using the keyword field here instead of the text field. I'm going to just pop this into, this is just a postman, which most of you know. Get some stuff around. Gives us a terrible error because I copied that wrong. Sorry, just a sec. To this, maybe that's what we want. Okay, so it'll give us this result, but I think if we get rid of just have this in the field, we have no hits. So this is what I was saying, because it's a text-only field, the regex doesn't work in a way that's intuitive, so we're swapping it out for the keyword version of the subfield on the back end. So yeah, we have all our basic functionality. We do, by default, Elasticsearch limits results to 10 instead of 10. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. So we're going to order by name descending still. Let's get rid of the where clause for a minute and just show like how you could basically do some quick pagination on this. So we limit 10. Now, if we want to offset and get the next data set, let's offset it. Sorry, let's offset it by 9. That way, in theory, we should have, sorry, I've got Zoom. So we should have Zachary Stafford should be our first person in the next data set. And it is Zachary Stafford. We could do the same thing, again, here, 18. And it's whatever, Zachary Hamilton. So, and now we're finally looking to be out of the Zach universe here. We got Yvonne. So there we go. So yeah, so this is what we have for our MVP. So we've got filtering, we've got sorting, we've got ordering, all the basic functionality. We are working on nested fields, which are a bit of an anti-pattern with Elastic. But we're developing that actively, and so that should be coming out next. That won't be in our MVP. There are a few other things that we're still working on, like a range operator is something that we're still working on for numeric types. But I think that's basically it in a nutshell.